I got the first insurance client through rather unusual circumstances. When I was with Robbins, the state labor commissioner had sent me a guy that had got his arm burned off by an electrical wire dropping. So the labor commissioner felt that he had a workman's compensation case, which he did. Fortunately, I recognized that he also had a possible of a third-party claim against the gas company. The story was he was working under these lines, doing some concrete work down on Columbia Street, and electric wire fell, burned his arm off. He somehow got loose without getting killed. So the gas company's claim was that some little boy had been flying a kite with a metallic kite string, and that kite string had created a short across these wires, and that had caused the wire to fall, and it was intervening agency, so therefore they were not responsible, even under the strict heavy liability of a distributor of a dangerous substance. So I went to every electrical engineer in town, and they all were very sympathetic, but they just weren't going to testify against the gas company. And so I finally wound up out at State College, and there was an old professor of electrical engineering by the name of Baird. We made all sorts of tests out there, or he did. He put the wire over this, and he said it just couldn't happen. There's just no way that that can do it. And I said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Here, do it." So I did it in his office, and just nothing happened. So I dreamed up the idea of making trying it out myself. So the night before trial, I went down with a guy by the name of Paul Howards, who was as goofy as I am, and stayed around. And so we had on rubber gloves and rubber shoes and rubber ball. I had this same string, so I got a piece of it in deposition, threw it over these wires and pulled it back, and the string just broke. Nothing happened to the wire, so I knew that I could get by with it. So next day we went to trial, and I had it all planned. And I put these guys way out on a limb. They were absolutely sure that this is what caused it. So I was going to, when I got them out that far, I was going to say, "All right, Your Honor, I would like to take this same kite string out in the presence of the jury and put it over that same wire and see what happens." And I knew that I could win the lawsuit right there, because if they let me do it, I could get by with it. If they objected to it, the jury's going to know damn well that I could have got by with it. But I was too young and too inexperienced, so I was too cocky. So they kept bringing the offers up and bringing the offers up. So finally, my guy, who was a very poor man, said, "I just can't afford to take any more chances." So we settled the case. So that evening, the insurance man, who was in Northwestern Insurance Company of Seattle, invited me out to dinner. So we were having dinner, a few drinks, and he said, "Now, God damn it," he said, "what did you have that I don't know about?" So I told him what I had. He said, "Oh, you son of a bitch." And 2 days later, I got the first case from Northwestern, and that's how we got our first insurance client, which has led to many others. So we were beginning to do pretty well, so we took on the third partner, a guy by the name of Bill Glenn, who had been a friend of ours and who was then Chief Deputy District Attorney. Bill was from Wyoming, Stanford graduate, both undergraduate in law. Very fine lawyer, a very fine lawyer. And so we took him on before the war. And just about that time, when we were just thought we were getting started real good, as Higgs, Fletcher, and Glenn, the war came along. Glenn and I went in very promptly. Ferd went in shortly thereafter. So we got Miller, who I had been working for originally, to come over and hold down the firm while we were gone, because his partner Weinberger had been appointed to the federal bench. So we all three went to war. John Holler, who I'll tell you about a little bit later, came over and handled the insurance stuff while I was gone. We came back then, and shortly after the war, Bill was appointed to the Superior Bench. He had been elected on the state bar. He had become acquainted with lawyers throughout the state, and he was offered an appointment by Earl Warren, who was then governor. The Superior Court then paid something around $8,000 a year, but Bill was making considerably more than that in the firm. But he was a guy that had to have security. No matter how well we did one month, he'd say, "Oh God, what are we going to do next month?" His whole background went to that. So he took the Superior Court job. Miller stayed with it. It became Miller, Higgs, and Fletcher. Then, while it was in that, and Miller was as old then as I am now, and Bill Summer got out of Bolt Hall. His father-in-law was a coroner. His father-in-law asked me to talk to Bill and see if we could give him a job. I did. He impressed me. We gave him a job. At that time, we didn't have to have hiring committees, or we didn't have to have interviews. If one of the partners wanted to hire somebody, the partner hired that individual. Well, Bill came and was with us until 1965, when he was appointed to the Superior Court. Miller passed away in the meantime, and Pitts Mack, who was then a partner in Higgs, in Gray, Carey, Ames, and Fry, and had been a partner for quite a long period of time, came over and joined us. He left there as a partner and came over and became Pitts was a great trial lawyer. Absolutely, there was no better trial lawyer than Pitts. He was also a great storyteller. He only had one vice, and that is he bet on horses. That's the only vice he had, and only when the horses were running at Del Mar, and only on Saturday. So he didn't drink, he didn't chase women, or anything else. So he stayed with us until he died in 1974. Miller passed away. The case firm then settled down to Higgs, Fletcher, and Mack, and we intend to retain the name as long as we can. We had a number of cases and a number of experiences that were interesting. You mentioned about the telephone call from Las Vegas. This guy, John Holler, I mentioned, was a damn good trial lawyer. He had a couple of insurance companies that he represented, and he did a hell of a job in trial. Mel Belli came down to San Diego 3 or 4 times, and Holler beat him on every occasion. But his problem was that he had not one bad habit, but he had 3. He liked to drink, and he liked to chase women, and he liked to gamble. Now, a lawyer can get by with one of those, maybe with 2, like Tim. And it all came to a head one day. I was in the office one morning about 9 o'clock, and then came this telephone call, collect, from Holler in Las Vegas, Nevada. I said, "Dutch, I'm in trouble." I said, "Well, how much trouble are you in?" He said, "Well, I got drunk last night, and I gambled, and I wrote checks for more money than I have in the bank. Will you help me?" So he gave me the amount, which was not insurmountable. And so I said, "Sure, I'll take it down to your secretary right now, and she can deposit it as soon as the bank's open and covered." There was this pregnant silence. Then he said, "She's with me." Another Holler story, just before the war. As a matter of fact, in December of 1941, lawyers were more migratory then than they are now. We had a case up in Orange County. I had one insurance company, Pacific Auto, now Pacific National. He had the other one, 3-car collision. Both of our people were dead wrong. There isn't any question about it. But the claims people got to arguing about what percentage they were going to pay in settlement. We could have settled the cases out pretty quickly, pretty cheaply. But they got to arguing and wouldn't do it. So finally we go through about a 3-week trial up there. The jury brought in the inevitable, brought in a $60,000 verdict against both of us. And $60,000 in 1941 was quite a lot of money. Oliver reached over and he tugged at my sleeve and he said, "Dutch, we've made the big time."